thanks everybody for joining today. I think we did one with Lido back when I think Moonriver went live with the XCKSM to STKSM. So wanted to regroup here because I know that with Moonbeam live and everything you guys have been working on, it's super cool to just get the word out there around what you guys are up to. So. I wanted to give it over to JBZ. Do you mind just giving a quick update on what is Lido? I mean, I think most folks that are here kind of know at a high level, but take it through maybe just some of the cool stuff you guys are working on in Lido.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Lido is a liquid staking protocol, and the overview of what it is and why it exists. There's a few different players in the market that are building different variations on this, but in proof of stake systems, there's a paradox of choice where a user has to choose between locking up collateral to help secure the chain, and they get rewarded for that service in protocol emissions, or they can chase DeFi yield and be a DeFi farmer. And the problem is that most rational actors are going to be selfish and pursue the highest yield possible or maximal return. So altruism versus greed. And what a liquid staking protocol allows you to do is to have your cake and eat it too, as it were. So the way that Lido works is we generally accept the user's native asset, whether that's Ethereum or KSM or Polkadot. We pass it to stake on their behalf, and in exchange, we give a synthetic, usually called stAssets, so stETH, stDot, etc. And then you can use that across a variety of DeFi platforms, whether that's to provide additional liquidity or borrow as collateral. And then you can kind of take that to your risk level of comfort. So that's kind of the basis of what Lido is and why we built it in the first place. And we started and we launched initially on Ethereum at the end of 2019. Oh, okay. 2020.
Yeah, 2020. I remember, I vaguely remember when you guys kind of came out of launch. And so, I mean, like, what inspired Lido to kind of build it? Was it really just the move or soon to be moved from proof of work, proof of stake on ETH, and seeing the opportunity to create kind of this staking derivative, or what kind of sparked everything for Lido to really kick off and become like a product?
It really was born out of the issues that exist with proof of stake systems, just similar to proof of work. Proof of work tends towards centralization just because of economics of scale. And it's the same for proof of stake systems. The groups that have the most collateral to stake to secure the chain are usually centralized entities or high net worth individuals. And our concern was that if they capture too much of the chain value, and specifically for Ethereum, there's a very high barrier to entry requiring 32 ETH in order to stand up your own validator, plus the complexities of running the software or the hardware. So it just wasn't approachable for the long tail of retail. So we viewed it as a huge existential risk. Besides the apathy of pursuing higher yield, there's just a very clear risk that the entities that have the most infrastructure and the most capital would centralize the protocols. I'm not saying they inherently would be malicious, but the whole narrative of this space is don't give anyone the opportunity to even have an option to be a bad actor.
Right. Gotcha. No, that makes sense. It certainly makes sense. And so, Misha, I want to bring you into the loop. So just to give some background here. So Misha and Costa are the team from MixBytes who led the development of STKSM and stDot, and we've been working with their team for 8 months or so. Misha, I remember when we first started kind of getting engaged with you guys. What got you excited to even try and help expand Lido to Moonriver and Moonbeam?
Yeah. We've been working on Polkadot for a long time. We really believe that unique unique composability of Polkadot's parachains and like the whole structure will bring a lot of benefits to overall like blockchain ecosystems and community. And yeah, the challenge was really the challenge of working with staking using two different chains, basically, like parachain, which is smart, and like relay chain, which is a bit dumb but super reliable. That structure was really enticing for us as a tech challenge, first of all, because when we started, it was basically impossible to liquid staking in Polkadot. So we developed our system simultaneously with like protocol developing the ability to communicate between the chains. Yeah, that was fine. That was fun. Like when you start project and it's technically impossible to complete it, it always brings the joy to technical guys like ourselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. And look, I think for anybody here that's learning from the Moonbeam community, I think you'll start to see more and more use cases around kind of what we're calling connected contracts, that are the ability to basically have like contracts that are natively multi-chain. And so actually, when you step back and think about it, Lido on Moonriver and Moonbeam were really the first instance of it, because it is, the logic is all living on Moonriver and Moonbeam, but the execution is happening on the relay chain, so Polkadot or Kusama, depending on which network you're doing this on. And so I certainly give the team here credit. You guys were like true trailblazers when you guys were building this, because it was cutting edge, the cutting edge of cutting edge, and it's given us a ton of stuff that we can kind of talk about moving forward, because of what you guys were kind of able to build. So I know that that the team at MixBytes has a high security background. You guys have traditional audit support as part of your business. What kind of goes into when you think about the collators that you guys work with? Do you mind just giving me kind of a high level? I'm not going to ask you to go into too much detail, Misha. I know there's a ton that goes into it, but how do you think about the validators you work with to make sure that it's secure as possible, while being able to deliver deliver value back to the users?
Yeah. So basically, how we choose our validators is that we look at all history of Polkadot, like from the start of the relay chain. We look at all the nodes and all their performance. We and basically like match it to the like metrics that we think are most representative of how good validators behave. Polkadot has a native system of rewarding the validators that perform best. So we look at this metric called error points, which basically gives you an idea of how much, what's the performance of validator, and we weight it like with time or share it gets, but there is a limit because we best validators, they never get slashed in the whole history of Polkadot, but we still need to be like extra vigilant. So we apportion only a small share of our like staked votes to a single validator node. That basically limits our slashing potential for the whole network. Even if it happens, it's gonna be isolated to one ledger, which is gonna be like the small portion of the whole overall staked amount. Yeah, and like for you to become like a chosen validator for Lido on Polkadot, you need to be like you have to never be slashed. Of course, you have to get a lot of error points, and you should always be available. There is no like downtime available, no margin of downtime available for us for validators that we choose. So basically, top of the top, like cream of the crop.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. I mean, especially, when it comes to when it comes to putting funds anywhere, obviously, you know, we feel strongly about security, and so it's good to see that I've seen some of the docs that you guys put together, and I can attest that you guys go to extremely great lengths to make sure that, you know, you're working the best with the best of the best to ensure, you know, stability and things along those lines. So on kind of following on that theme, if you will, back to JBZ, when you talk to, you know, whether it's, you know, just individuals or whether it's institutions about working with Lido, what are some of the things that you try and focus on from like a uniqueness perspective? How do you kind of frame it compared to some of the competitors out there?
Yeah, so I view our our biggest competitor directly being native staking. Anyone that just offers the vanilla version of proof of stake staking. And that has a specific group of individuals that I feel personally, that are very difficult to target. If you are the type of, I want to say person, I don't want to say investor, but if you're the type of person that is very long on an asset and you're planning to just sit on your hands and do nothing else for a multiple number of years, then native staking is probably the best solution. You'll sidestep the merge, you have no need for liquidity or speed to exiting the queue. And if you're not integrating or playing around in DeFi, then candidly, there's not a huge amount of value props. So for the most conservative cohort of users, I actually recommend that they just stick to native staking on that kind of attribute level. But for anyone that is looking to explore, that is looking to get into DeFi, whether that's retail or institutions, maybe you've had some BTC and ETH, maybe you came through a centralized exchange, but you're looking to start exploring the space a bit more, we view Lido and our stAssets as a really solid stepping stone into the rest of the DeFi ecosystem, because it's an yield-bearing asset, so it has very distinct properties that are really useful. There is liquidity, so if you do have a premium or a need to get out of your position quickly, you can. You will most likely suffer a small amount of slippage, as we've seen, especially on the Ethereum side, due to the shenanigans of the past 2 months. But the product works as intended. If you need speed of delivery of your capital, you're going to pay a premium for that. The other thing is it's a hedge against, at least on Ethereum, it's a hedge against the merge. If the merge is delayed or has any technical issues, or in the worst case scenario, just never seems to happen, then that's a way to hedge against the chance of your liquidity or capital or collateral being locked up in for an even longer time horizon. Other networks where that's less of an issue, there still is the time to speed of execution. So on Polkadot, there's the 28-day bonding and unbonding period, and that's basically a month. So if you're a company that can't wait for a month, the liquidity of stAssets is going to be very valuable to you from an operational and capital allocation strategy. So that's how we generally frame our pitch, I guess. The other thing is no other liquid staking protocol
that's for
has
Ethereum.
the depth
I
integrations.
should that.
What was this? Sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to add that this is the pitch for Ethereum network. It's not like that for like Polkadot. In Polkadot, there's like a lot more other benefits, because you can transfer your tokens to one validator to another, like which you can't do that on Ethereum. That's why, like, generally Ethereum liquid staking is like might be considered less of a like safe feature than like native staking. In Polkadot, there's a case to be pleaded that liquid staking is like safer than like average native staking.
Fair point.
I love it. That's why you guys are the experts here, Misha, on the Polkadot side. I mean, you guys have been building it for forever. I mean, in terms of, you know, how like, you know, you just said some people might argue. Are there points that you would point to that say it's like actually more secure than native staking? I'm always interested to kind of, you know, let folks know kind of how the builders kind of view it. Misha.
Hey, this is Costa here speaking. Yeah. So,
Oh, hey,
do you
Costa.
mean like what does it look like on the developer side? Why do we highlight these particular classes of having these better than maybe native staking in some ways?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Misha just kind of made a comment that some might see it as almost more secure. I'd love to just let him or you kind of expand on that.
Okay, yeah. Most probably Misha will add something, but what we see here is like first of all there are different like risk layers and different terms of security, different aspects of view on that. So what we are talking about here is that the main thing that you most probably face when you start working with native Polkadot staking is that you have to handle everything on your own, and the most risk you face here is the slashing, and that is what we do handle for you, and that is what we have hedged. So you not just only have to monitor constantly and have all the data available on how is your stake performing and whether you should switch to another node or not. You also still have this risk. And what we are saying is that having this hedged in the way we are working with it, uh, we may assume that like it's a lower risk. Uh, this is like from the technical side, from the like development part, and there is also an economical part, which like most probably one is having his or her dots staked because of wanting them to like bring additional yield or at least not to be diluted. So what we see now is that like the official inflation of the network today is like 7.7%, and having all the data available of all the staked dots in the network, we may find out that around 29 million dots is staked less with an APR less than this inflation. So we have also considered this economical risk as well.
Gotcha. And so, obviously, it's been only about a month or so, I think, since you guys went live with ST dot, and you continue to kind of work across the ecosystem to collaborate with other teams. I think today Curve is probably the one that you guys work most with today. Where are some other places that you guys are kind of working with, and I mean, I guess in general, what do you generally see folks do with whether it's ETH or ST dot? What are kind of the use cases that seem to get the most traction where folks want to utilize it?
Yeah, we across DeFi, there's some basic foundational pieces that we see pretty commonly. The first is making sure that we get basic liquidity in place so that users can swap in and out of their position if they don't want to deal with the staking and unstaking or bonding and unbonding process. So making sure that we're partnered with whoever happen to be the leading protocols. In some instances like Curve, which are multi-chain, will partner with them as best as we're able to. But oftentimes there's a homegrown version or a local version that has more traction, and we'll kind of adjust based on that. So that's kind of the foundational element, and getting that initial liquidity stood up. The next part is making sure that we have oracles and price feeds in place so that we can get to the real next level, which is money markets and lending protocols. So that's where we see most of the use, because the hypothesis that we have is that if you're holding a native asset because you're long on that network, then you're going to be most likely wanting to hold the liquid asset because you're still getting that exposure plus the yield. And then if you go into a lending or money market type platform, that allows you to still maintain that position, but now you get increased flexibility if you're a very active trader, for you to take whatever types of strategies are most interesting. After we kind of cover those two, depending on the maturity of the DeFi ecosystem, which is different for every chain, we start moving into just the more exotic, more traditional finance type of things: puts, calls, options, fixed income products, things like that. And that's where we see most users start to drop off, because those are much more complex. You can make more return, but you have to really know what you're doing, versus those first two layers are where we see most of the activity really taking place, especially around the lending and money markets.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are, I think as you kind of eloquently said, those are more the power users who I think get into some more exotic uses for it. But certainly some of the, the lending and borrowing use cases, I think are generally the ones that I've seen at least get the most traction. So in terms of, I want to take a bit of a curve in terms of like, I think you guys just deployed Lido on Solana as well. Do you guys see a world where all these kind of instances could maybe talk to each other, or maybe you could like do some crazy stuff where it's like if you've got st dot, you'd be able to do something on Solana with it potentially. I mean, do you see a world where Lido goes truly like cross chain, or is that not really something you guys are kind of focused on?
So I'd love if any of the more technical guys have to hear their insight. But for us, while the world of bridging is very dicey still, considering there's there's a bridge hack almost every month or two, we are focused on the individual networks for now. And using trusted bridge partners where we can and need to. Yeah. Right now, at least for this year, it's getting past the merge, standing up new networks, and kind of doing business as usual. Longer term, once cross-chain, like true cross-chain messaging or bridging or whatever the term that people want to settle on is more resilient and battle tested, we have a lot of ideas that we would love to pursue, like creating something like an ETF equivalent of all the Lido interest-bearing assets across ecosystems, because that could act as like a macro exposure to the entirety of the Web3 space based on where we're deployed. Or if we felt real dicey and stablecoins didn't blow up, maybe we could issue a Lido stablecoin. But that's all so far out in terms of years that it's nothing more than concept or ideas.
Yeah. I like the ETF approach. That could be super cool to be able to just get exposure across the 5, 6, 7 whatever instances you guys have deployed. That could be pretty cool to get to just get that broader exposure. Misha, I don't know. I think Costa might have had the cell service problems. I think he dropped. I don't know. Misha, are you still here? Did we lose you as well, sir?
No, I'm here.
All right. What do you think about cross chain stuff? Is it feasible long term, or what are your thoughts on that?
We are like a lot of our business is like auditing, so we are really risk averse. Yeah, it's not a great idea for native protocol tokens to be secured by other blockchains. You can always do it secure, like in a way that is gonna be secure. We just need to really test a lot of paradigms in terms of security to be really for the bridges to be really safe to use. At that moment, we are quite confident in XCM protocol that allows tokens to travel between parachains in Polkadot. But for other bridges between different ecosystems like Ethereum and Solana, we just couple of months ago saw that there are a lot of vulnerabilities possible for that mechanics. So yeah, it's definitely possible, and it's definitely the future. The only question is how far that future is.
Yeah, gotcha. Hey, look, I'm going back to it. I appreciate the focus on security. That should be, that's top of mind, I think, for everybody, or should be top of mind for everybody in the space. I mean, it's that seems to be the piece that maybe got glossed over in the bull market. Folks might have kind of glossed over it, and everyone's everything's only up, and so people don't care. But certainly in the bear, I think it's becoming more and more of a focus of we got to stop running fast and loose. We really need to think about some of the security aspects of it. So certainly can appreciate that with you. And then staying on kind of a broader topic, I mean, we've unless there are other things you guys want to showcase on Lido, we can talk a little bit about roadmap if you'd like. I mean, are there things that you guys want to talk about, or you want to talk a little bit about DeFi as a whole? I'll leave it up to either JBZ or Misha if you've got things on Lido that you want to focus on.
I think we covered, at least from my perspective, a lot of the work that we're thinking of from a high level for DeFi. I am really interested to see, just as we navigate this potentially longer bear market, how the overall DeFi ecosystem kind of emerges on the other side of that. We had a lot of the building out phase. I'm jokingly, and everyone hates me internally for saying build back better for any people that are from the US. But basically, I think it's going to be interesting to see which projects are truly resilient, because the last bear to bull rotation that we had at the beginning of 2020 is when we saw a lot of the current juggernauts of DeFi really take hold, like the Curve, the Uniswap, the Aave, the Compound. And I think we'll see a lot of the Me Too and copy pasta projects deprecate, but I think the ones that stick out will have much stronger ecosystems, much better economics. And, of course, we always want things to go up and to the right, but I also think we're going to see some brand new primitives instead of recycling kind of the same thing that has been the game plan. Like I like Olympus, nothing personal against them, but once they launched, there was just this cascade of copycats. And it created just existential risk across the whole ecosystem, because if the parent contract had an issue, everyone had one. So I'm really excited to see new primitives, new types of DeFi Legos, if you will, that we haven't seen built yet. And we're starting to have conversations with some teams that are building that. So that's what I'm most excited about.
Gotcha. No, it's awesome. Thanks for some of the broader insights, Misha. I don't know if you had something you wanted to add to that, or what are things that get you excited about DeFi these days or concern you?
Yeah, we're like super. That's not gonna be a popular opinion, but we are super excited about the end of the bull run, because the market needed, and we know as an auditors, the market needed a bit of time to catch its breath, and to really start building something new. Not trying to iteratively improve something that's already been done, but try to create a completely new concept. And they have that money now, and they have that time now. So I think, I just wanted to agree with GBZ, because we really need some paradigm shift, like Uniswap or Compound brought at the start of 2020.
Yeah,
and I think we'll get it, if we have time.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think that there's kind of going to be this new crop of products that folks are building, and we believe it's going to be, this connected contract, theme that we're kind of focusing on. We believe that teams are going to start launching natively multi-chain versus going multi-chain, long term. And so we'll have to see, but that's where we feel, I think, some of the new innovation is going to come from over the next couple of months, years, weeks, whatever you want to say. But all right, awesome. So how best to interact with Lido or on Moonbeam, Moonriver? Where are the places folks should go check out? Not all at once, guys.
Yeah, we have a Discord chat for any questions or development connections. You can basically go to DeFi, and there select Polkadot or Kusama, and you'll get to our Discord. We'll happily answer any questions.
Gotcha. Cool. JBZ, any closing thoughts? Anything you want to leave the listeners with?
No, just that we were heavily investing into the Polkadot ecosystem. We view it as one of the potential contenders in the multi-chain world, not to feed all the buzzy words down everyone's throats, but I think it's still a fast emerging ecosystem. They're just getting through all the various auctions and the unlocks. So I think as more liquidity of the native asset is coming on, and then as more builders are able to access some of this liquidity, I'm expecting to see a huge explosion in the build out. And we're already talking to a number of teams that are either launched or getting ready to launch across the various parts of the ecosystem. So I'm really excited, but we're still very early in the foundational phase. Like we're just now getting our Oracle online with Chainlink, which will unlock a whole bunch of different features and integrations that were not previously possible. So very early stages still with this world.
Absolutely. I mean, I think for the Moonbeam ecosystem with Chainlink going live a couple weeks ago and the Harvest Moon program kicking off, I think there's a ton of work to be done. I think there's going to be a bunch of new places popping up soon where you'll be able to utilize ST dot, and so keep an eye out for those. It is still super early days in the Moonbeam ecosystem, and we'd love to see what's kind of being built and going on, and we'll make sure that the team at Lido is plugged in wherever possible. So wanted to thank everybody for joining, and hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll talk again soon. All right, cool. Thanks, guys. See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.